thought I'd read you some nice little rescues, first of all, because they have a lesson in them. Each one of them has a little lesson for somebody. And these are the ones that I did with Margot all those years ago. And I also, my sister said to me, "You did write more Christmas messages." And I thought, well, I'm sure I must have done. So I've got the 3 that I didn't read last time. So I thought what I would do is I'd read a couple of little stories, pop in a Christmas message, read a couple more, pop in another message, and see what happens. And then I've got Robin's latest information that he's had, all the questions that you gave me. They didn't give individual answers. What they did is they worked from a much higher plane, from the cosmic level, as they did with your own information. And so I've got it, and if people want to ask questions about what he's written, they're very welcome to, because I could explain possibly anybody's queries.
Do you think Robin would be willing to take questions from people who watch the videos? Yes,
I'm sure he would, but they won't come like you ask a question and there's a yes or no answer. They usually are quite complicated, as you've just found out, and they deal with... Because healing, people have to realise that healing comes from within yourself. It doesn't come from anybody else, and it won't come from anybody else. The only thing that other people can do for you is to supply you with energy for you to heal yourself. And healing today, it seems to me, is about looking into your past, this lifetime. And if you know the other lifetimes, or any of the other lifetimes, you look into those lifetimes and see where you feel that you've done something you shouldn't have done, or you've done something you should have done, or you've left out something that you should have done. It's all very simple, really, but people have been led to believe that doctors can cure you, which they can't, or pharmaceuticals can cure you, which they can't, or other people can cure you, but everything is actually down to us, and it's our attitude of mind and our ability to raise our frequencies and our consciousness. I've always read extensively, as well as being taught from spirit, so I managed to keep myself on a pretty high level, because I know what happens when I don't. Unless I'm being given a really, really hard lesson, and occasionally that happens, and you're inclined to go down like that, but you have to bring yourself up again. And rest, as you were saying just now, you're resting, and that resting is very, very important when you're trying to heal yourself. Sleeping is important. A good sleep is important when you're healing yourself. So we are healing ourselves from every single lifetime we've ever experienced on this planet. And those lifetimes are actually being shown to us by what is happening on the planet, what is coming up, what is coming to the surface. And it appears to be other people's things or other people's actions that are coming to the surface. But in fact, they're our own. We're only looking at a reflection of things that we've done in the past. And the lesson there is to forgive yourself for the things you've done, things you've left undone. And, well, that's all I've got to say about that. But it is really down to us, and it's about us keeping our frequencies high, because once your frequencies are high, nothing of a lower frequency can get in. And that includes all that stuff going on out there. Anyway, I'm now going to read you some stories. And also I'd like to wish everyone a very, very happy Christmas, regardless of what's going on. You know, make the most of it. Be kind to yourself. And if you've got family around you, then be kind to your families as well. Even if there's arguments and whatever going on. It's time to forgive and forget. Hard to forget, but easy to forgive. The first one I'm going to read you is Miss G. That's all we ever knew her as. And this was one of the first ones, I suppose. We hadn't been releasing the Earthbound for very long. And this was one of the first ones I did. And we'd gone to Borthwood Copse, which is one of the most sacred places on the island. And we'd gone into this lovely wood. And we were wandering along, and suddenly Margot heard this voice. And it was the voice of a woman. And she said, "For pity's sake, listen. I sat here and wrote what I shouldn't have. And then 2 weeks later, I passed on. Can you take me further? It is so bad seeing a mist and not being able to get through. I will take you to a place where I wrote the second one that I didn't ought to have. I could not bear that she had a lover, and no man looked at me. I passed on only a short while ago, a few months. I will take you to the place in the woods. Please go. I shouldn't ought to have written 4 in all to her and to others." Margot said, "How strange. This is different to the other ghosts." And we wandered deeper into the woods, wondering what was going to happen. And suddenly she spoke again. "Nice here, isn't it? I knew you would like it, but I shouldn't have been so wicked. This woman lived down our street, and when her husband went to work, she had this other man in. It went on for a long time, so I wrote him a letter, her husband, told him of all that was going on. They had such a fight. Then I thought it would be a good idea to do another. I didn't sign them, of course. I sat in this wood to do the next one. It came out better out of doors. I throwed something away. I will show you if you go backwards towards the holly bushes. Then I will speak to show you." Well, I might tell you we were surrounded by holly bushes, and we're looking for a needle in a haystack. However, we did wander around and looking for something and waiting for her to speak more about her poisonous letters, but we didn't find anything that day, so we returned the following day. And Margot said after about 5 minutes she sensed her presence again. It didn't matter when I was in my teens, no boy would ask me out. But when I got to my 20s, I got worried then. By the time I was 36, I knew I would never know what it was like to be loved, to lay in a man's arms. So when a woman who were married and had a man encouraged other men who ought to look at me, then I really had to write these letters. Before I threw it into the holly bush near here, I knew I was doing wrong. It was new, and I put a G, which was my initial, on the top. You can find it. There are 3 of you to look. G, G, G. Don't forget I scratched a G on it. Well, all we knew was it was something we were looking for with a G on it. And then Margot said, Now we knew whatever we were to find, it had to have a G scratched on it. Was her name Grace or Gertrude, or did her surname begin with G? I was never told, so she is always Miss G to me, poor tortured soul. We spent a long time continuing our search round the trees and the holly bushes, and then I noticed a narrow track leading off between some thick bushes that I'd not noticed previously. I wandered a little way down, and then she spoke, and as I wrote down what she said, I was at the same time calling out to Wally and Carolyn to come quickly. They were by my side in a flash. "Right here, in the leaves, near the bush. Look, you are so near it. Look on the ground, it is silver." We looked around, and a few feet away I saw something sticking out of the ground, shining in the sunlight by a holly bush. It was like a dagger stuck in the soft earth, and it was a silver pen. Margot pulled it out and found that on the top there was indeed a faint G scratched. And her last words were, "What joy it has brought me, this guilty soul, that you found the pen that wrote those wicked letters. I bought it especially, a cheap pad from Woolworths, and a good pen, but knew that after that last letter I must get rid of it. Then, when I passed on, I have wandered at this lonely spot, waiting for someone. If you can keep my pen and write something holy with it, then I know it will never hurt anyone. There are a lady and a man. They are in front of me and beg me to go with them. I am released from my earthly sins. I will learn to love, and this is what I should have done. Love everyone. A kind word here or there helps everyone that speaks them. Never write a cross word either, only words of love and kindness. A golden ray of sun lifts me up. I do thank you all so much. You have helped me. Please pray for me." Well, we all wrote a little prayer with the pen, each one of us on a piece of paper, and left it in the woods. And that was the story of Miss G. Bless her soul. This was a drop-in communicator, and her name was Mary Hewitt. She was quite well known, and for some of her poetry and simple children's verses. And one of her verses was, "Come into my parlour. Said the spider to a fly, 'tis the prettiest little parlour you ever did spy."
No, we haven't done that one.
We haven't done that one. They were written by Mary Howitt, who had a long life from 1799 to 1888, and thus saw many changes through the Industrial Revolution. What she sees today from her celestial plane had troubled her so much, she dictated the following message to me. When one is named Mary, much is expected of one. My favourite words were, "'Tis the prettiest little parlour." When I wrote this, I drew a picture in my mind of just how that strange parlour should look. I spent much time seeking out wild flowers and all small creatures. This made it very easy to write. It was all so different then, so long ago. Once I was young, but I grew very old, and perhaps by my middle years I was old, but I lived on and saw many changes, many inventions, and many new fashions. I hope you bid me welcome, as it would grieve me to intrude into your life, but sometimes I feel I wish to weep when I see dear little animals and insects being killed by the poisons that man rains down upon them. I just have to speak to you, as I know you live in a world that you too could weep for. Such pretty flowers, each petal of the common daisy a masterpiece of the Creator. Each small insect, with its gossamer wings, a delicate balance of nature, all to be denied their chances in a savage world. If a creature has not the opportunity to fight back, it is more than a savage world. I sat among the flowers and wrote my short verses. Some were published, while others were torn up and thrown away, but it mattered not, as I enjoyed the task that I set myself, to create in my own small way a verse, a collection of words. God gave me eyes to see with. He gave me hands to write, and I wrote. Now, in years to come, will anyone have this opportunity? Will all the daisies have been killed and the little insects gone forever? What of the animals with the poisons that are put into them by man to experiment for his own selfish needs and to cure his own ills, which were caused by his own stupidity? Making small animals suffer so much pain. Oh, how I could weep. But my days of weeping are over, and I am in a place where there is no more sorrow. No more sorrow around us, but only sorrow to see the world we left becoming a place of evil, with little thought for the lower forms of life, each with its own little home, its own little parlour, and its own part in the great Creator's plan. I appear to contribute my message in a concealed manner, but this is not really so, as I am surrounded by souls who agree with me in everything poured into your ear, and who also wish to speak, yet have not the power to do so. I had a wonderful life. Strict it may have been, but as long as rules and regulations are fair and are obeyed, this makes for happier living. I was fortunate, as my husband and I enjoyed the same work. I wrote many things, but my verses were always my joy. Alas, that joy is shattered by the terrible atrocities men are committing, not just on their fellow human beings, but on all wildlife. Think, I say to them, before it is too late. Think before you interfere too much with the balance that was intended by the great Creator. Think well. If each person who should hear or read this communication that you have so diligently written down acts upon what has been disclosed and tries to stop this interference with nature, then the earth may stand a chance of surviving, and generations to come would be able to appreciate the beauty of all the wildlife, from a small flower to a spider to a fly. Thank you for hearing me. I shall pray for you, and indeed all of your century. So please think well of me. Mary Howitt. Mary, as a Quaker, was a true friend of the earth, and I am sure today many people will agree with her sentiments. This is the tale of a holy find. And Margot said, as I was very fond of old churches, that's why I was invited to go that particular day. However, we went to Shanklin. And this is what she heard. I met him by the water. I lost him by the water. Christ, I mean, no earthly man. I had been an unbeliever. Then I met Jim. He belonged to the church, and we used to walk around the pond talking. I became quite religious and had several different religious pictures. The trouble was I got so mixed up with a rosary, a crucifix and a cross that I made Jim cross himself. We had a little bit of a quarrel by the pond near the trees, and I lost Christ. I seek and have found now, but cannot proceed to the heavenly light. Go to the pond. This is the pond at Shanklin, by the little church there. So we went to the pond, and we found a little crucifix. The lesson I had to learn was not to argue over religion, and whatever the symbol was a person had, it could mean a lot to that person. I died wondering whether we were right or not. Now, through my knowledge, I have kept my special symbol of religion bright through the years. I am so sorry to have given you any trouble, and I hope many signs and symbols will strengthen the faith with you all. My name was the most religious of all names, Mary, and with the knowledge I have, I shall go onwards towards brilliance beyond one's dreams. I love these stories because there is such hope for us when we pass. If we have led good lives, we won't be earthbound. And I hope this time we don't have to come back again. We go on to a different world altogether. But each one has its own little lesson in it, and I think too many people argue over religion. Religion has caused so many wars. It's a wonderful way of starting a war for those who are the warmongers on our planet. So that was Mary, two Marys. And I have lots of friends called Mary actually, and I remember being told once that Mary is it's a title, not just a name. You are a Mary. And most of the Marys that I know have been psychic. They have an intuition that is beyond most people, which I find very interesting. So to all the Marys out there, look to your intuition and use it wisely. My next story is about Arabella. And we were on the cliffs at Culver near Sandown. And Margot and I were sitting there quietly waiting to hear from someone. And this is what we heard. My aunt had bid me attend to my duties and perform an errand by taking money owed to the farm. I was told not to tarry, yet the summer evening was fine, and I fear I, Arabella, did tarry. The farmer could wait, and I went up on the cliffs to view a fine ship with its sails billowing in the breeze. I was set upon by a ruffian, and my money was snatched. I pushed the man. As he stepped back, the gun he was carrying went off, and he fell wounded. The blood flowed, yet I did nothing to help him. I told my aunt I had dropped the money, a lie that I died with. I could not tell of the gun wounding the man I had left to die on the cliffs. I now tarry here, the coins all gone except one. So large you cannot miss it. It's to your side, upwards, not far. I am very guilty of telling lies and leaving a soul, however bad, to lay wounded to death and to do nothing to help him. Help me, please. It is easy for you. Well, Margot scrambled up the cliff, digging. We all did actually, and we were digging away with our trowels. And then Margot saw this silver light shine upon the ground. She said it is a spiritual light that only she can see, and always shows the exact place where something is buried. It only shines for a minute, and only when we have been searching for a while. It doesn't shine immediately, or it never shone immediately. We had to make the effort first. And we dug out a very large, heavy coin, George III, 1797, and it was known as a cartwheel because of its size. We'd not seen one before. However, she felt the ghost of Arabella was still around, so she waited for her to speak again. I said it was easy for you, yet you climbed upwards. Wherever were you going? Heaven, perhaps? Heaven is not high, it is around you, and you are not for heaven today, methinks. I was just a silly, frightened maid who would not give help when needed. And when the body of the man was found several days later, pretended to know nothing about it. Perhaps, if tended by a physician, he could have been saved. I shall tarry no longer, but will go onwards to a light more pleasant, and a lighter, more pleasant sphere than I have been in. Thank you for helping me. It was easy, was it not? This was one that I did with Margot over at, what's the place? Over at Cowes, Gurnard Way. It was not a very nice day. It was raining, but we still pursued out on our quest. And this was the voice that spoke. I was rotten through and through, just like a rotten apple. I appreciated nature, though, and when I saw a rare species of bird or butterfly, I got quite excited. I was a great admirer of Darwin and went along with all his theories. I was bad and committed just about every sin except murder. I hated my fellow human beings, but as I said, I admired Darwin. He was the only person I would never have harmed. I made a study of insect life, and the more I studied, the more I liked the uglier creatures. When I was given by a learned professor a present of an insect that had, so he informed me, belonged to Charles Darwin, I treasured it. I used to sit on these cliffs by the hour, studying these fascinating creatures. When I found I had lost my treasure, it worried me very much. I cannot swear it really belonged to Charles Darwin. I only had the professor's word for it. I died a natural death, realizing how many sins, which I will not bore you with, I had committed. I was then back here seeking my insect. Please find it. I see it very near you. My name is Charles, too. Well, we were searching along, and it was muddy and wet, and I suddenly saw this, well, I thought it was a real live creature, and it was brown and not very pleasant, and I said, pick it up then, said Wally. And gingerly, I pulled it from the ground, and it was a metal locust, about 2.5 inches in length, absolutely perfect in every detail, and it was no wonder we thought it was real. I am pleased the insect has been found. I roamed around here thinking of my many sins, and at the same time I have been mentally gaining knowledge. Some of Darwin's theories are correct. I thought him a good man. Every insect is beautiful, however ugly it may appear to the human eye. You flinched when you saw it. That was natural. You will realise how beautiful it is in the eyes of the Creator. Thank you for hearing me. I now go on to a silver circle of light that lifts me beyond this plane of earth. So he was another one that went on his way, rejoicing, as they all do. But some of them have to stay many years before they can be released. I suppose it's the amount of what they call sins they've committed. They don't get rescued very early, or they don't have the opportunity to move on towards the light. And my last one I will read you today. I can't remember where it was now, where we went, but it was on a Sunday afternoon, and these were the words that Marco heard. Love is very important. I had love for my family and friends, but I'm afraid I did not love all creatures. I retired here many years ago. My work had been one with no love. I was a scientist who experimented on animals. This was inexcusable, especially as it was mostly for cosmetics. The mice, rabbits, and other animals who suffered through my work, I cannot count, and what I did, I cannot describe. When I came to the island to live, I told no one what I'd been doing. I went to the church to pray, yet always the picture before me was of little animals suffering because of me. If no one took on this type of work, it would have to stop. I have been earthbound since I died, wandering through this village, crying for help. I followed you and have told you my story. My name is William. I am truly sorry for what I did, and now I hear the voice of angels. They bid me to go on, to wait, to learn, and then return to live again as a man who will not only care for his fellow men, but all creatures. A small pot will appear on the grass nearby. This is for you. I shall put it there to remind you of me, a man who had no love or pity for God's small creatures. Thank you for your help. I am going. William's voice faded away, and as he said a small pot would appear on the grass, I knew this was to be an apport. The three of us looked around on the short grass around us, and there was no sign of any pot. We wandered up and down a small area for about 20 minutes. It was quite a chilly day, and I was about to give up and suggest we went home. This is Margot speaking, when I saw something appear in front of me. It was a small cream-coloured pot. 1.5 inches high, some tiny flowers painted on it, and the word Amore across the front. It had very small handles on either side. It was as if an unseen hand had just placed it in front of me. We could not have missed it, as we'd all looked in this spot a few seconds before. It was a very significant apport. And it made us wonder if all folk who conduct experiments in a cruel manner on helpless animals will become earthbound. Love is an emotion that should extend to animals as well as humans. So I seem to have read about insects and small things today. And I think perhaps many people don't realise the importance of them. We are being made aware of the importance of the bees, because if we don't have the bees, we won't have humanity. So no, I thought I'd read you a few. I've just got 3 Christmas messages, which my sister said she'd kept, and so I thought I would read them to you. They were, I think I finished at 2017, so I've got 18, 19 and 20. And this year I really haven't felt like writing one. But it's just that I have not been inspired lately to write a Christmas message, but I have been inspired to write poetry, funnily enough. One is called Needles of Death. And it came to me first thing in the morning. However, I'm not going to read that to you. This was my message for 2018. Seems so long ago now. I wish to speak of consciousness. And I woke from a dream one morning, and this is how I began it. I woke from a dream one morning, and I'd been dreaming that I'd been standing quite naked with my arms flung up in the air, and I was saying, "It's all a matter of consciousness. It's all a matter of consciousness." And I was so enthusiastic about this. I was absolutely over the moon that it was all just consciousness. So that's what I put at the beginning of my Christmas message. And this incident occurred many years ago, but it left an indelible impression, as it was meant to. So yes, indeed, it is all a matter of consciousness. For whatever you build within your mind inevitably becomes your conscious reality. As we look around us today, there is a choice to be made, and this is 2018. A conscious choice. Humanity seems to be standing on the edge of an abyss with nowhere to go. Do we jump? Or will we be pushed, kicking and screaming over the precipice? Distractions surround us from every direction, and it is difficult at times to maintain that sacred space of neutrality. Just remember that mind is the builder of our possible future, and whatever thoughts we send out into the universe will just as surely be returned to us like a boomerang, for every thought is cyclical. Today, the speed of that return is almost instantaneous. So the choice we have is between love and fear. There is no other. We are at the edge, and some will choose love, and others will choose fear. For there is plenty of fear-mongering, leading to stress and dis-ease coming from a consciousness of control, through governments, through the media, through the film industry out of Hollywood, the military-industrial complex, big pharma. and the devastation of our Mother Earth through war and deforestation. Who holds this consciousness that keeps humanity enslaved? It is time to break out of this fear-based manipulation of the human mind and bring to bear the consciousness of love and acceptance into a world so devoid of this. We are individual sparks of the divine creator, the great architect, all having experiences on our Mother Earth, the only planet of choice. What an experiment that has turned out to be. Christmas has become something it was never meant to be. It comes at the darkest time of year, and for some it has become very dark and totally materialistic for many people in the West. The true essence of Christmas has been systematically wiped from our consciousness. Christmas is a time for going within, for hibernation even, like some animals. It is time for connecting with the inner divine being that is always awaiting recognition. A time to connect with the light within and express that light with the power of love, the Christ principle that is the eternal consciousness of the God source. This is the way we will heal ourselves and our planet as we individually radiate that power from an open heart, from our open heart centres into the world around us. We are invincible, magnificent human beings when we claim the power of love. Let us unite and change the consciousness of our world this Christmas with the power of love. I can't believe I wrote this once. My Christmas message for 2019. Words. We use words for communication. But have you considered that words are much more than that? Words are magical. They are to do with spelling, and spelling is to do with casting spells. What are spells but the power to hold another enthralled, captivated by your ability to speak words of enchantment? Words hold the gift of raising the consciousness of the heart or killing the body, depending on the intention of the user. It is said that in the beginning was the Word, yet behind the Word there has to be the thought, and the thought made manifest became the Word. The Word was the sound of creation, and behind creation is the Creator, whose words were, "Let us make man in our image." Genesis chapter 1, verse 26. Who is our Creator, who was so powerful to create humankind? For it appears from the above sentence there was more than one. And who was he referencing when he said us? What powerful words indeed. What powerful gods. Now that is great magic, the power to manifest humankind. I use the word humankind deliberately because kindness is at the very heart of the teachings of the Master Jesus, whose life is celebrated at this time. He had a direct line to the Godhead through the Christ Spirit that overlighted him for the years of his ministry. The Beatitudes from the Sermon on the Mount were his greatest words and still relevant today in this world of darkness and chaos. Kind words are required to heal ourselves and our world, for they speak directly to the heart. So many words are spoken with no thought for the consequences. So many lies and treachery issue from the mouths of the power-hungry principalities, popes and politicians to gain control of people who do not understand they are just pawns in a game of thrones. So our words must always be kind, honest and true to the light within. Light carries information, and we are the bearers of that information, holding wisdom, love, care and compassion for our fellow voyagers along the road less travelled. We are all dreams in the mind of the Creator, living the dream time in a slice of time, in a space to experience and gather information, to return to the source, the dreamer of dreams, the Godhead. This time, the space is known as our Mother, Earth, and she is sick from lack of words of love, care and compassion from humankind. Her pain can be heard in the anger of the seas, the trembling of her mountains, the fierce roaring of her forest fires, her wild whirlwinds, all bringing destruction and devastation in their wake. She is screaming, but humanity is deaf to her words and continues along a path towards, along a godless path towards annihilation. It is up to us to whisper words of kindness to nature in all her forms, to show compassion to our animal kingdom, to express love to one another, and forgiveness to those who do not yet understand that we are all one. So let us freely express the love within our hearts, that we may heal one another, and in so doing, our Mother will once again rejoice, as the Christ Spirit is made manifest upon our earth through the power of love. Let us use our words to spell out a new world of human kindness and spin the web of magic wherever we move and have our being. That was Christmas 2019. I didn't have much to say for Christmas 20. The times, they are a-changing. Indeed they are. 2020. Clear vision. Well, we have certainly not had that this year, when chaos and confusion ran rife, and humanity was subjected to untold misery and fear. It appears we've been let out of prison for the Christmas period, for a time of family reunion, gratitude, loving kindness and compassion, all qualities of the divine. But sadly, it is the divide that is uppermost, and it is time to choose your weapons. The words of the divine, or the sword of the divide. Separation may well be with us, but the words of love and union echo in the hearts of the followers of the divine. Love, being the eternal acceptance of all things and the opposite of fear, is the key and the answer to this game being played out on planet Earth for the control of humanity. There is a war going on for the souls of those who uphold the light in these dark times, and fear is the ultimate weapon This is a time when your faith will be tested to its limits and beyond. But hold fast, because somewhere, deep within all of us, is that original spark of divinity, literally our starlight, held within our soul, the keystone to our universe and all known universes. It is time to realise that we are not just little humans tied to this small, out-of-the-way planet known as Earth, but voyagers of the cosmos. So wake up, people, to your regal sovereignty and join with me and those who carry the starlight. For it is light that carries all information, and we just have to learn how to unlock the codes in our DNA to access that knowledge coming from those who dwell among the stars. As I have so often said, we came from the stars, and to the stars we shall return. So stand tall, think big, and catch the cosmic train with me to the biggest Christmas party in history. And I put up not my usual kind of message, but we need strong words in strange times. Well, I've got some strong words from Robin now. He wrote this in reply to questions, or this is what came in reply to questions that you gave me, Sam. And they are not individually answered. They are answered, as it says, from a cosmic perspective. So they're very different. And it's called The Journey of Must. Questions are a good key to a doorway that opens and closes, depending on the mind that listens. We advanced human beings wish so much of ourselves when the clock stops and decisions are required. Let's appropriate basic facts to those that ask themselves questions. Dimensions are a reality devised by those that need clear lines between one phase and the next. Let's place another setting for thought on the table that you all dine upon. Supposing our minds stretch to the point that we are universal beings, always are and always were, but a divide was created that disallowed us from leaving the planet and its sphere of composite learning. By creating this division, we detached ourselves from the differing realities available. This either happened by design or by fault. Either way, that is the reality of things. We are not appropriated enough information because of huge divides in our linear education. It is as simple as that. We once had the knowledge, but detached that from ourselves through choice rather than design. If you hang lead weights on a diver, he will find it difficult to surface unless changes are made to buoyancy. We are at the bottom of our dive, and this has taken us away from our true state. We must lighten the load so we can surface again before the oxygen of opportunity fades to nothing. This means relinquishing ourselves from hard seminal earth experiences and returning to true form. We became full form beings out of choice, and it is that same choice that will allow us to transform from full form and return to a setting where further opportunity can flourish. We are caught in a looping madness created by thought forms that have become more powerful than the creating focus. But nothing is more powerful than heart, love, and goodness. We do not die and we do not live. What we do is exist in a field of magnificent possibility created by our energy as a whole. This energy is transmuted via the ether into a collective, and this collective formulates the reality we find ourselves amongst. Dimensions are divides per se, but in truth they are collectives of energy forms living out a version of experience based on input and output, no more or no less. We are journeying through the void of multidimensional possibility, to put it in human terms. A small story will furnish answers. A man leaves his home and intends to visit the next village. He packed his belongings and took them so he would not be short of anything. He takes a wrong turn and ends up in another village, and he gets involved in something else, which delays him. He has the will and experience to know his journey will take him to where he needs to go, but not necessarily in the time he expected. Just consider all these villages offer differing journeys. These journeys are microcosms of the universal visitations we are in the process of making. Time accredits nothing when space and illusion offer separation from true self. Will we make the shift on planet Earth to remember who we once were? Maybe we will, maybe we won't. Some of us recognise the need to return to the universe, and some do not. Choice is the directive here. An illusion can magnify, making it collusion rather than anything else. We must return to soul and wisdom before we lose our way completely. Separation from love allows the mind to venture into places that does not suit. This terminology makes the lower forms of energy available to us should we wish to employ their actions. We have all used their action at some point or other during our incarnate lives. If this is so, then the lower astral forms will stay attached through lifetimes, and we forget why they were there. And on this basis, one needs to have a quiet word and relinquish oneself of their services. It is love in true form that heals the bridges between adversity and chance. Become the truth, and the truth will grow bigger than opportunity itself. Personal love and honour relinquishes the hold the lower astral forms have over the human spirit. Answers to the questions come from the cosmos. This is a much broader level of intellect than humanity can occupy whilst in low energy state. So for some, the answers might be difficult to ascertain. We are on a journey back home, and this interface must occur whilst in physical form, or at least preparation must stem from this point. We must dial in the need to detach from this false reality, and true journeying must begin again. By dialing in these new parameters, we are infusing the mind, body and soul with the vibrational coordinates to take us back to the starlight from whence we came. What is it we must do to aid preparation for the changes? Do we need to walk differently, breathe differently, or even eat differently? These focuses are physical actions and are not needed to begin the changes. What is required is the will and the focus to return back to the universe, where we reconvene communication with our source. Right now, humanity is being stripped of incarnate blockage, hence the upheaval that everyone and everything is party to right now. Step back from yourself and allow your transition to convene. It may not be easy. It certainly won't be pleasant, but rest assured it is necessary. Once this process has completed, your mind will have the ability to super-focus and transit from physical to non-physical in the blink of an eye. What this means is that when you pass over from this short experience known as life, you will avoid the network that scoops you up and places you back down to earth each time. Do not be recycled. Do not lower your heart level so this can occur. The difference between you and the next person is the choice you make whilst in physical form. Be true, be love, and trust the inner knowing. You are briefly stripped of incarnate blockage, and this will allow you to make a formative choice whilst here in physical form. The next transit from Earth will either be a return to the universe or recycled back into the delusional illusion of Earth's space. Simple as that. Yes, it's a beautiful planet, but it's an open war zone on so many levels. There is no judgment. The choice is upon us all. One of the key factors right now is to hold your own court and do not buy into fear and the illusion that creates mass collusion. Look to your own fertile field of expression and let others look to theirs. Each of us have a role to play in this ever-changing playing field. The major objective is to grasp hold of the fact that we are universal beings and not just of this planet. This will help realign our centres to the objective required. Stay in your heart. Do not compromise your ideals for anyone or anything. Just imagine you are a conscientious objector right now. So expect the same treatment from the masses as those did while the world was at war. You will be mocked, called names, and forced to compromise your ideals on the basis that you are wrong. Follow your heart and stay true to yourself, and you will be reacquainted with the starlight you once were part of. Remember to stay out of your head and feel your way through the crisis that is flattening any sense of self-worth and morality. It is how you handle yourself, my children. Be the best man or best lady you can possibly be, and refrain from fear and control. Let us consider where this information comes from. This is everyone's consciousness talking back to them about themselves. Imagine a universal recording that stands timeless and holds the coordinates that bring wayward souls back to source as and when they wish to return. Be fully alert and responsive to your heart composure and feelings. This is your beacon. It acts as your personal satellite, guiding you back home. With much love to you all. Well, very deep words, very common sense, very cosmic. We're on our way. Where do we go from here? Do you know I've never mentioned, and I suddenly realised it, Sam, that I've never mentioned the scrying. I've never spoken about the scrying that I did with Margot and Mary into our past lives. So perhaps I'd better do some of that.
And we can feed in any information that comes through Robin at the same time.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I feel he has a great deal more to say to us next year.
Good, exciting stuff.
Exciting stuff, yes.